Hello everyone, this is Venus Brown and I am here with a new reaction to Season 3 House of the Dragon official teaser trailer. Now mostly I do TV show reactions and sometimes discussions, breakdowns, and reviews, but I also like to do trailer reactions before the new seasons start. And since House of the Dragon Season 3 is coming up soon, I figured it is time. Now, last season, we kind of broke it off a little early, I would say. The Screenwriters Guild was on hiatus, I'll just call it that. And things were not happening as rapidly or as frequently as we would have liked them or as they should have been. But that is done. Things are back in session. It has been a long time, but this seems to be the way of things now. Every single really good show that I watch seems to have a couple years between seasons, which I really dislike, but it doesn't look like there's any end in sight. So this is the mess that we're left with. But because of that interference and because of not having the time, resources, whatever the case might be, to get everything done in the pace and time that they wanted it done, we ended up with an episode or two taken off of the last season and tacked on to the beginning of this season. And from my understanding, that's going to make this season very entertaining. I mean, you're talking about taking the finale and putting it on the beginning of a season. I don't know if they'll do it exactly that way, but I imagine it will be something like this. So this should be pretty entertaining. It should be pretty engaging. There are supposed to be a lot of fights and battles. I don't personally like a lot of fighting and battles. I find when I'm doing my reactions, when there's tons and tons of fighting, I find myself kind of zoning off and not caring so much. It doesn't mean I don't have any appreciation for the battles or I don't like them at all. It's just that, like, I only need a little bit and then that gets the message across and then I'm okay with it. But hopefully they'll make this entertaining and engaging enough that I won't care if there's tons and tons of battling and not so much diplomacy and things like that. And honestly, I feel like season 1 and 2 were the setup. They were showing us what's going wrong in the kingdom with these two, what's causing so much strife that they might actually go to war for it, and then setting up the battle before the major war. War is really starting. Yes, we've had lots of hits here and there that I would say they are already at war, but I feel like this is going to be where war really gets going. Anyway, I've got House of the Dragon Season 3 official teaser trailer. I'm going to go ahead and play. I'll watch it through one time, and then I'll go back through and pause it every now and then to talk about whatever it is that I decide to talk about. That's usually how I approach trailers, so let's go ahead and get this started.
You now have the power no man has ever wielded.
You will have an empire unassailable, Rhaenyra. And our children will rule it forever and a day.
All that remains is for you to decide what you want from this war.
You will do things that your heart would have recoiled from before you came to the throne.
The Targaryens are a savage race.
We act with holy purpose to restore a rightful king.
I'm going to kill my brother, or die in the attempt.
Draw your sword. Look to the sky. Doom and ruin surround us. We will all become beasts before our end.
It is no longer safe here. There will be no doubt who the gods have chosen to rule.
Right. Let's go ahead and go back through this.
You now have the power no man has ever wielded.
You will have an empire unassailable, Rhaenyra, and our children will rule it forever and a day.
Okay, so when he said this, I kind of laughed it off a bit because technically they do have the twins. It might be reasonable for him to make such assumptions, but yeah, I'm pretty sure most of them are going to be dead and gone before the end of this war. But I believe that the person that ends up taking over after all is said and done is one of her youngest children. So maybe I shouldn't laugh so much.
All that remains is for you to decide what you want from this war.
You will do things that your heart would have...
Okay, so I was watching something where they had talked a little bit about this, seeing her bloody footsteps going across the floor, and they think that it may be possibly after she sat on the throne. It's a little weird, though. It looks like the blood is strictly on the bottom of her shoes, and I don't see any other blood anywhere else. And to me, if the blood is coming from her sitting on this throne, it shouldn't just be on the bottom of her shoes. That would come from stepping on blood, not from bleeding yourself. That just doesn't make sense to me. But another thing they had brought up was that it is very similar to previously in the series after she had had one of her babies. And Alicent called her down the stairs to have words with her for whatever fucking disturbing thing Alicent decided that she wanted to discuss. And Rhaenyra had just given birth, and she's walking across the floor and down the steps, and there is a trail of blood behind her that her footsteps left from having just given birth. That was one of the things that really turned me off so badly to Alicent. When she did that, I was just like, that is fucking uncalled for. So fucking uncalled for. Anyway, let's get on with this.
Oiled from before you came to the throne.
The Targaryens are a savage race.
We act with holy purpose to restore a rightful king.
Okay, what he just said about the Targaryens race, it really reminded me of that scene in The Night of the Seven Kingdoms where Raymond Bossaway was talking about how all the Targaryens are aliens and how they're such an awful race. So yeah, that's what that reminded me of. And then he says that they're fighting to reinstall the rightful king, which is just oh my gosh, he is not the rightful king. Nothing about what happened was rightful. Just like when Robert Baratheon died in Game of Thrones, and Cersei goes and installs her son on the throne when that was not his desire. That is not what was supposed to happen. But what are you gonna do? And top that off, her kids were not really Robert Baratheon's kids, even though he never contested them or anything. You could see, you could tell, and at least we all knew that she was screwing around with her brother, that all those kids pretty much were her brothers. But then there were other people that also knew. But anyway, I was just no, he's not the rightful king. And people are oh, but there's precedence for them not having females and only having males. And I'm but technically that precedence was one freaking thing where the king was too tired and devastated and didn't want to make the decision himself. And so he called this meeting of all the leaders in the kingdom for them to decide it. Not because it was the standard way to do things, but because he didn't want to make the decision himself. And before that, there were rulers in Westeros that were females. We try to act like this was not a thing in Westeros, but there were multiple kingdoms in Westeros that had female rulers. Yet we try to act like, oh no, they would never go for that. They would never go for a female ruler. Even with Rhaenyra, like it seems like they didn't go for a female ruler, but her father also never really did anything to get her solidly implemented. He never did anything to make sure she was properly trained. He never did anything to make sure that the people of the kingdom were taking him seriously and taking her seriously. He wasn't involving her with very many of the decisions that needed to be made around town, with trying to delegate things with other people, with trying to make deals with the other leaders in the kingdom. And that to me is why people never took her seriously. That to me was why she wasn't able to make a good ruler, because none of the groundwork was laid. Anyway, let's continue on.
I'm going to kill my brother, or die in the attempt.
Draw your sword.
Look to the sky. Doom and ruin surround us.
And definitely last season, Kristen Cole had already kind of been coming to this point before the season was over. He saw those dragons in action when they're really being utilized to destroy, and it freaked him the fuck out. And now he's like, oh no, this is like our end. Like, we're nothing. We're nothing compared to these. We'll just all be bones and ash before this is all done. Like, all the Targaryens need to do is use their dragons and they can just set fire to everything. And he says, we will all become beasts before our end. And I would say Westeros, the Game of Thrones, it seems to do that to these people. Their leaders especially, but also the people that are caught up in all of this, and they're being demanded to enter these wars, to do all these things, to fight for them, to lose their freaking husbands and children and stuff to these wars. For what? For these leaders to play at the Game of Thrones.
Come beasts before our end.
It is no longer safe here.
Okay, I just realized she said it is no longer safe here. So I'm betting that after she had that discussion with Rhaenyra, where she said, yeah, you'll be welcomed into the kingdom, the doors will be open and you can take your place on the throne, I'm betting she goes back over to King's Landing and tells somebody in charge, maybe Aemon, maybe somebody else, but she's like, it's no longer safe here. So she's trying to either get people out or get them up in arms to not go along with what she said. I don't know. I don't exactly trust Alicent. I think maybe when she went and talked to Rhaenyra, she actually wanted to try to make some sort of peace, but I still don't trust her. And we don't know what Aemon's gonna do. Aemon's had serious mommy issues from the beginning, and he seems to have already pretty much written her off. I mean, this may just be another tactic to try to regain favor with him or something, or to get him to do what she wants him to do, but it could also be the other way around. She could also be talking to her daughter, though, or pretty much anybody. It does make sense for her to come back and tell the people that she actually cares about that it's not safe and that they need to get the fuck out of there. But I don't know. We'll see.
There will be no doubt.
Lots of screaming there. Somebody said they thought that might be Helena giving birth or something. I don't know. I don't remember if anybody was pregnant at that time that we ended last season, and I'm pretty sure it should be picking up right where it left off, but I don't know. And somebody else was saying, oh, there's no guarantee that is Helena. Maybe not, but I think it is. Even though with her all sweaty and stuff like that, it doesn't necessarily look exactly like her, but I think it looks enough like her that it probably is. She just looks disheveled and messed up because she's all sweaty and screaming. Happens to the best of us.
There isn't a rule.
And that's the end of that. Yeah, she said there will be no doubt in the end who the gods chose to rule. And from what I remember in the books, it doesn't end up being her. Like, she rules for a little while, but it isn't long, and they make it look like the throne rejected her, which is all a bunch of freaking patriarchal shit to me, but whatever. I know they said that the throne did the same kind of shit with her father, but still, I feel like she was set up to fail, and she's been through the ringer. I'm not sure if at that point she'll already have lost her other kid. Like, that is major. She lost her fucking baby, gave birth to it, and it died. Like, there was pretty much no doubt it was probably gonna die. It was way too early. Then she loses one of her sons, and now she's losing another son, and it's pretty much back to back. Like, that's a lot of turmoil for somebody to go through. And she's trying to fight this war, and then she gets into the position and she has to deal with all the mess that's been left by everything that's been going on, not just the war, but the finances in King's Landing being drained from the coffers and not having anything there to freaking run the kingdom. Like, all of that shit all compiled on top of each other is a lot. It's way too much. So to me, it's more not that a female isn't going to do a good job at this, or even that the throne rejected her. It's just, there's too much shit going on at one time, and there's too much to freaking deal with when she's already in a freaking really distraught, fucked up place. And so her head is probably not in the right place. So I imagine that while she may have done very well had she been properly prepared and things hadn't gone so horribly wrong the way they did, she might have done okay. This situation is like all the worst shit that could happen pretty much did. Anyway, that's it for this trailer. I look forward to seeing the show when it starts. I won't be doing reactions this time. I will be doing more of a breakdown and discussion of the show.